This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Yes, when you hear the twang of the ukulele, you know it's the after party time. And here we go. Thank you for being here, Nullifidian. I saw you pop in with $10. Thank you for getting us off to a great start during the crowd-funded after party. Much appreciated. And you write something I didn't know. Having the crowns makes it much easier to donate. What are the crowns? And why do I not know about them? Do you have a crown on your head in the chat? I don't see it, but I'm fascinated by it. All right. Hey, if having the crowns makes it easier for you, then I am delighted. Thank you for the contribution to the After Party Live. I very much appreciate that. I saw some PayPal contributions come in as well, Nullifidian. Wes kicking in $5 today, as Wes always does. So thank you so much for the $5. Scott R with a monthly recurring PayPal payment. Amy S, Yvonne B, Janet R. Thank you guys so much for supporting the After Party Live. Huge love from me to you. Thank you for keeping this show going. And yeah, it's needed and much appreciated. So let's jump into some of the stories because I know we don't have a lot of time together. And I love it when the Mark Thompson show goes late. I love talking about the politics, but it means we have a little less time. And it is Hide in Your Cave Monday. So I don't want to skimp out on that. But I also want to start the show telling you about the Guppies. These little fish. Who would have thought that a research was done to figure out which guppies get the luckiest? It turns out, according to researchers, that orange male guppies are hornier and have a little more fun, if you know what I'm saying. The more colorful males were up to 2 times more sexually active than other guppies. I mean, as in any species, right? The cuter ones always get a little more action, perhaps. Apparently, the color orange, pretty important in guppy reproductive action. The more orange coloration on a male guppy, the more virile it is. This according to a study just published in the journal Nature, Ecology, and Evolution. They're looking into why male fish have these vibrant, bold colors and patterns. And we know that in the animal kingdom, the bright colors are used as a visual signal, right? They're poisonous dart frogs that are bright red, orange, or yellow. There are male peacocks that are more colorful and brilliant, right? Male parrotfish apparently are more colorful than the females as well. But they're also gender fluid and they flip back and forth, changing genders throughout their lives. But this new study on guppies from the University of British Columbia in Canada had researchers breeding 3 generations of increasingly orange guppies. And they use deep learning, which is a type of machine that can recreate neural networks and genetic studies to examine each generation of guppies produced. And they found the more colorful males, the oranger the male, they were up to 2 times more sexually active, performing for females for longer periods of time and at a greater rate too. Go orange guppies. These guppies also attempted to sneakily copulate with the females more often as well. They already knew that female guppies preferred the orange and unusual patterns on their male partners, but they found that the same cells that form their brains also control color diversity on their bodies, which they think means there's some kind of genetic link between the physical appearance of these fish and how they behave as well. That used to be, because apparently guppy sexuality is a big thing. It used to be, back in the day, people thought perhaps the males realized if they were more orange, they were more sexy. But with the genetic link, it means they actually might be healthier and fitter as well. So, it's like humans. If you have strong nails, good teeth, and, good hair, you're somehow more fit and healthy. I don't know. Maybe that's what we subconsciously think. The guppy colored genes themselves and where they were placed were tied to multiple chromosomes in this fish. Having so many locations creates a vast architecture, they write, of genetic possibility for the fish's color. They found, this team, 7 orange and 8 black color types. And they say that guppies can have more than 32,768 unique pattern combinations. That genetic variation is the raw material that evolution uses to produce resilient, adapted animals and plants. So, this has something to do with why the more colorful, interesting patterned male guppies are getting some more action. Get on it, guppies. There's a story out of San Francisco. Actually, I will say the story is out of San Francisco. The picture, though, is out of Scotland. So here's a seagull hanging out in Scotland. But the story is about this San Francisco seagull that is exhibiting behavior they haven't seen before. We've never seen anything like it. The biology professor, there's a biology professor from San Jose State University. His name is Scott Schaffer. He was checking out this rock pile on the Farallon Islands where there was this seagull protecting her eggs. And he said having a nest there meant that the seagull would likely return to the same spot. And so, because he was trying to monitor the western gull population on the Farallons, which is home to one of the largest breeding colonies of this species in California, he decided to tag this seagull with a GPS tracker to the base of her tail. And then he marked a single dot on her forehead with a Sharpie so that he could recognize her. And then he let her go for about a week before finding her again to grab that tag and download the data that it held on her species diet, her foraging behaviors, her habitat use, all of this. But when he looked at the data, he found something really weird. For a while, she went completely off the map. And he was thinking, he tells SF Gate, where in the world did this bird go? So he zoomed in and he traced her 80-mile journey that started at the Recology site near Candlestick Point in San Francisco. She went over the Bay Bridge, down 880, onto 580, before she got to a composting center near Modesto in the Central Valley. He said her speed was about 60 miles an hour, which is way too fast for her to fly. And he realized she had hitched a ride on an 18-wheel garbage truck and stayed overnight in Modesto, little trip, before flying back to her colony out in the Farallons. He thought that maybe she got trapped under the layer of wire mesh on the truck while she might have been foraging for scraps. But she did the same exact trip the next day. Going to San Francisco Recology, hitchhiking down to the same composting facility in Modesto. But this time, she went over the San Mateo Bridge while her mate watched over her nest in the Farallons in her absence. It's the first time that a Western gull has been observed taking such a little journey, embarking on such an adventure. Schaffer tells SF Gate, I haven't seen this behavior in any other species that I've studied. So they're taking this puzzle piece, this crazy gull trip from one recology site to another dump site, and they're now looking at how seagulls seek out food and why and how they travel. There are other biology specialists, including folks from UC Santa Cruz, looking at this hitchhiking seagull, and they say it's so unusual that this bird warrants her own paper, but the behavior might be demonstrative of how flexible Western gulls can be as a species, because we know they forage on sea, they forage on land, And their food can be a variety of sources, from fish and krill to whatever's left behind on the ground at Oracle Park. I mean, whatever, French fries or chunks of old chicken strips, whatever it might be, right? They were looking at why some gulls spend years at sea and some come on land. They're tracking as many as 30 of these birds looking for answers. What they found, though, is that gulls spend more time on land, that because maybe there's less prey in the ocean and fewer whales were around as well. So it's interesting, but how crazy that this seagull has learned to save her energy. Just hitch a ride on the truck, man. There's a lot to eat in Modesto, apparently. There's not a lot of seagulls out there, so you kind of get the hot picks. Why not? This little one was rescued. This is a pronghorn. Look at that baby pronghorn. It's a pronghorn calf, and it was rescued by the San Diego Wildlife Alliance in New Mexico. They came from San Diego to save this underweight American pronghorn fawn. It was struggling on private land in New Mexico. And so the rescuers got in the car, drove 13 hours from the San Diego Zoo Safari Park in Escondido to this property in New Mexico where this pronghorn was struggling. It's an animal that resembles a deer, but it's actually more closely related to a giraffe. I'd never seen one before, but this one is underweight and dehydrated. It's okay. She's getting some help and some love from the experts at San Diego Zoo. The landowner in New Mexico saw this, what he thought was a fawn, wandering around the property, and they say it's not normal for this species to do when they're just born. They're known as tuckers. They'll tuck away in a little spot until their mom comes back and gets them. This fawn was given some initial care in New Mexico before being taken back to the San Diego Zoo. And they're very hopeful. They say the pronghorn survived and is now healthy and adjusting to its new home in San Diego, where it's getting some love. So that's another good story of people helping animals. We like that. They found something interesting at a dinosaur museum right out in the parking lot. They didn't even have to go very far to find it at all. This dinosaur museum made a find right under their own parking lot. They drilled a hole under the parking lot of a Colorado museum where they have a lot of dinosaur skeletons on display. And they were doing the work because they were looking at the possibility of doing geothermal heating for the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. So they drilled a hole about 750 feet deep. Again, looking at geothermal heating possibilities here. And what they found when they looked at what was in the sample that they brought back up was that there was a dinosaur fossil right under the parking lot. The latest find, they say, is not so visually impressive, but the odds of finding this hockey puck shaped fossil sample were really, really small. The bore of the hole they drilled was 5 centimeters wide. And they say this is super unlikely to hit a dinosaur, even in a region with a fair number of fossils like this, like hitting a hole in one from the moon, they said. It's a vertebra of a smallish plant-eating dinosaur. They believe that's the source of this vertebra. They see the arrows pointing right to it there. And of course, they had experts right on site. They knew exactly what they were looking at. It's crazy. Only 2 similar finds have been noted in borehole samples anywhere in the world, not to mention right on the grounds of a dinosaur museum. So this is a smallish plant-eating dinosaur which lived in the Cretaceous period about 67.5 million years ago. They think an asteroid impact brought the era of dinosaurs to an end about 66 million years ago. So the fossilized vegetation also found in the borehole right near this bone. Experts at the museum say this animal was living in what was probably a swampy environment that would have been heavily vegetated at the time. The experts in the field vouch for the findings' legitimacy. They had some mixed reactions. They say it's a surprise. They say scientifically, maybe it's not that exciting. It's just a surprise about where it was. There's no way to tell exactly what species of dinosaur this was. But others say, this is very cool that it was found like here, right here. The shape of the fossil, according to one expert, suggest it was a duck-billed dinosaur or a Thesclosaurus, a smaller but somewhat similar species. Right now, the borehole fossil, which you can see on the screen, is now on display at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. They say there are no plans to look for more of this under the parking lot. They don't think they're going to find anything else here. It's not like they're going to widen the hole and start a dig, but they think that's pretty cool that they drilled one hole and boom, dinosaur under the dinosaur museum. One of the experts said, I would love to dig a 763-foot hole in the parking lot to excavate that dinosaur and the rest of it, but it's not going to fly because we really need the parking. If they even need the parking at the dinosaur museum, sometimes that's how it goes. So I don't know if you guys, I know there's a lot of people are boycotting Amazon, all these tech folks that donated big money to He Who Shall Not Be Named on this show. But for those of you that did participate in Amazon Prime days, which now is more than one day, right? You might be interested in this story. This lady had a very happy Prime Day, you could say, or not. Her home was flooded with Amazon packages. Look at them all. Crazy. This woman said she's actually been flooded with unwanted Amazon packages that have been arriving at her house for the last year. She lives in San Jose in the South Bay Area here in Northern California. She said she wants to remain anonymous, but that each box contains a faux leather car seat cover from the brand Etkin, sold by the Chinese Amazon seller Luis and Edian. So she's just getting a lot of the same things. Her address was apparently listed as the company's address for returns. And so all the returns landed at her house. The online seller's reviews are filled with complaints. So there's a lot of people sending this back. They say the covers don't fit. The high cost of returns are a problem. And they never received their refunds. This woman said, oftentimes what it costs to return the item is about more than 50% of what they paid for it. Plus, these consumers aren't getting their money back. She said the packages continued to pour in despite Amazon's repeated assurances to fix the problem. Amazon is now saying, we've apologized to the customer. We're working directly with her to pick up any packages while taking steps to permanently resolve this issue. They came out to her house last Tuesday to remove all the packages, but she's not the only one that this has happened to. There's a guy in Woodside, California, in Southern California, who also started getting unwanted Amazon packages. They just started arriving. Sometimes, this man says that there are so-called scams where Amazon sellers send packages to random addresses so they can artificially inflate their number of positive reviews. Maybe it was a brushing scam. That's what that's called. Then there was this lady in Virginia. She got more than 100 Amazon packages that she never ordered at her house. In this case, the vendor was having packages shipped to random addresses to remove unsold merchandise from Amazon fulfillment centers. Oh, just send it to Virginia. It's fine. Crazy. Can you imagine having for the last year all these packages pile up? So, in honor of the end of Amazon Prime Day, a little Amazon package snafu story. I do want to say huge thank you. I just saw Cindy's contribution to the show pop up. Cindy with a 10. Thank you for your relaxing stories. Helps to lower the blood pressure. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you for the 10. Thank you again to Nullifidian for the 10. You guys are so kind. Really, really nice. By the way, the PayPal information is in the show description and in the About tab as well. All right, let's talk about gut microbes, shall we? It turns out that some gut microbes can absorb and help expel forever chemicals from the body. And that's a pretty cool discovery because it means that maybe we could get rid of them a lot faster than previously thought. So we have these forever chemicals, PFAS. And they used to think that the only way to get rid of them was by either bloodletting or by taking a drug with really unpleasant side effects. The research, though, out of the University of Cambridge shows that there is these microbes were found to remove up to 75% of some PFAs from the gut of mice. Several of the study's authors are now trying to develop probiotic dietary supplements that boost helpful microbes in the human gut, which could allow us to reduce our levels of forever chemicals in our body. They write this: if this could be used in humans to create probiotics that can help remove PFAS from the body, this would be a nicer solution in that it wouldn't have so many side effects. So these PFAS are a class of about 15,000 compounds that are most often used to make things water resistant, stain resistant, grease resistant, this type of thing. And we know that it's dangerous. You can see from the graph here, they have been linked to cancer, to birth defects, to decreased immunity, to high cholesterol, to kidney disease, and a range of other health problems as well. And they're called forever chemicals because they don't naturally break down in the environment. They stick around. In America, the Environmental Protection Agency, which is under threat, but back when they were allowed to do their job, they found no level of exposure to PFOS or PFOA, which are two of the most common PFAS compounds. I know that's a lot of PFs this and PFs that, but these two were found in the most common found in drinking water is safe. They say no level is safe, none. No parts per million, nothing. They have a half-life in human blood of anywhere from 2 to 5 years by most estimates, which means the body expels half the amount of the chemical that is in the blood during that period, depending on blood levels. It can take decades to naturally fully expel PFAS, but we never do, right? Because the minute we expel them, we're drinking more. Yeah. But this is the first time, and this is the exciting part. Okay, this is the good part. Before you say, Kim, you're dragging me down, Debbie, this is the good part. It's the first time that gut microbes have been found to remove PFAS. They've been found to alleviate the impacts of other contaminants like microplastics as well. The interesting thing here is the researchers didn't start this project to determine if gut bacteria expelled PFAS. They were looking at a suite of 42 common food contaminants. They say some microbes performed well in expelling PFAS, so that's why they zoomed in on them to take a closer look. The authors are introducing 9 of a family of bacterial species into the guts of mice to humanize the mouse biome. The bacteria rapidly accumulated to absorb the PFAS eaten by the mice, and then the chemicals were excreted in feces. So, will it work on us? Only time will tell. More research needed, right? But it was so promising that 2 of these researchers started their own company, and it's called Cambiotics. And the whole point of their company is now to develop a probiotic based on the findings of this study. And they're planning to follow it up with a human study. While they say, listen, this is not going to solve the PFAS crisis, and it shouldn't be used as an excuse to downplay sustainable solutions and keeping us from addressing the bigger problem here. It still might help us somewhat. So, some positive news there. How about this story? More adults seem to be buying toys. Grown-ups. Yes. Are you out there buying toys? In the chat, tell me if you are. I know my teenager will sit down and build Legos. I got them the floral Legos last Easter, and they love building Legos. I have an 11-year-old and now a nearly 16-year-old. You would think the 16-year-old would be done with toys, but she'll build a Lego here and there. Probably about the end of the toys for her, though. But there are people that really are loving this, loving the toys. More and more adults are spending their money on toys, and they're also being marketed to and targeted by toy companies because they know that there's a nostalgia associated with the toys. And so adults, young adults, old adults, all ages of adults are flocking to this. I think it's kind of fascinating. And the marketing budget is being earmarked for more marketing toward older folks. Even the style of packaging has changed. You'll see some of the Lego packaging, instead of having cartoon characters or bright faces, now is very muted, dark, like a black box with gold writing with Legos. There are people that collect these squishimals, these squishy animals, and that's being marketed to adults as well. So, you know, it's a growing number of adults buying toys for themselves. In the UK, they say £1 out of every 5 is spent on toys, and that the money is increasingly being spent on toys as well. The executive director of UK Toys says they've got people being massive fans of a product at a much older age than we previously have seen, and it's not as geeky anymore either. The sales to kids are declining because birth rates are falling in some countries, and kids are also ditching toys earlier. Instead, they're buying cosmetics. We've seen that with kids buying cosmetics and skincare at an earlier age. They're also buying video games instead. The girls' share of the market declined by 8% between 2020 and 24. And that was, they think, stolen away by the makeup and beauty sector. And so now toy makers around the world are leaning heavily into marketing these toys to grown-ups. Come on now. The toy experts, behavioral scientists, say toys are at the intersection of comfort, nostalgia, and escapism. And all of those things are very needed at the moment because we've got conflicts around the world, political tension, whatever, and it all leads to anxiety levels. That nostalgia plays a smaller role in our consumer psychology during times of prosperity and hope, but it returns with times of uncertainty and tensions, that consuming toys then becomes a way to cope. So from stuffed toys to Legos to all kinds of things. Jelly cats, that's kind of toys. Pokemon, Dungeons and Dragons, Squishmallows, Star Wars, Marvel, Harry Potter, all of these kinds of toys, grown-ups are starting to want them a little bit more, a lot more. The folks in the Lego community say millennials were the first to be criticized, but also envied by older generations for accepting that it's fine to play with toys as adults. It sounds very much embraced as well by Gen Z. All of this is something that can provide people with a strong sense of identity and that can define them as well. I mean, I know grown-ups who still collect dolls. So, some people are saying that they, with their kids, are involved in collecting these squishmallows, that they search for them together with their children. Yeah. In the United States, Walmart, and now we have Toys R Us back, right, as part of another business. Toys R Us stores in Asia and Walmart in the United States have created adult toy aisles, not like sexy time adult toys, like toys. British retailers are starting to do the same thing. So everybody's doing it. Apparently, playing with toys is all right. This lady who built the Titanic out of Legos says it's now in a place of pride in her house. She looks like she's got a lot of toys going on. You know what? I say that's great. There's less stigma now for grown-ups playing with toys. And I think whatever gives you joy, you're not hurting anybody playing with your toys. Just go ahead and go for it. Whatever brings you joy and whatever lessens your stress in life, good job. Chaplain Fred says, and thanks for the couple bucks, Chaplain Fred, I continue to collect Macross Saga action figures. I don't know what Macross Saga is. Now I have to look it up. Macross Saga. I hope you spelled it right. Action figure. What is that? And how many do you have, Chaplain Fred? Fortress Macross. All right. Here's what I'm getting. It looks like almost looks like a what do you call it? A transformer? I'll show you what I'm seeing. This is what Chaplain Fred is into, which is cool. I think this is great. If it gives you joy, then I am all for it. I'm going to take this lady away so we can see what you're looking at. There it is. That's cool. Wow, that's expensive. $165 for that? It's a Fortress Macross VF. Do you build it or do you just buy it and it comes already put together? Here's some other pictures of it. Oh, looks like it's running. Okay. Oh, it turns into a plane. Yeah, it is kind of like a transformer, right? Yeah. That's cool. 165 is a little steep for that, I'm going to say. But you know what? Sometimes collector's items, well done. How many do you have? I'm going to the chat. See how many you have. Did you answer? Where's Chaplain Fred? Yeah, there you go. I have over 500 action figures. And yes, transforming jet fighters. Okay. Very cool. Look at you. Santi collects Hot Wheels cars, certain ones. Nice. Meredith collects rocks and minerals. Awesome. Jacob has a rock collection too. Very nice. Mindy says people putting puzzles together is a good brain exercise, good for the old guy. Behind me over here is Jacob's school project is a Native American, Indian Native American house, but underneath it is a puzzle board. Sorry for all the debris in this office right now. On the 4th of July, I have my family over, so I had to clean everything and all the stuff got moved into here. But we have a big puzzle board. We're putting together a puzzle as well. So, Macross. Okay, yeah, I got it. Nice. Yeah, Tony was talking about collecting toys today on the Mark Thompson show too. So see, it's not that odd. People are doing that. CBD says, I have a rock collection. My kids bring back a rock from all over the globe on their travels. That's cool. And you know what? That's a gift. I love it. Very cool. Rich calls us all a bunch of dorks and geeks. Joking. We'll take it. You know what? We already know we're geeks on this show, so it's totally fine. Heather says my mom keeps saying she wants to send me a bunch of my old toys she still has. I said, no, I don't want the clutter. I think she just doesn't want to be the one to throw it all away. Yeah. Over the last couple of days, Julie and I have gone through every drawer in her room and decided what to keep and what not to, and all of the clothes in her closet. And some of the clothes in the far back or when she was really little, some of the dresses I wanted to save. And now I have them in my room and I'm looking at this little owl dress and I'm like, I don't want to throw this away. Yeah. It's hard. Moms want to keep it, but they also don't want it at the same time. Ren says model train layouts are popular adult toys. I'm making an N scale. Super cool. JT says I still have my swap cards collection. I haven't let go of my wacky pack collection of cards. Lots of fans of puzzles here. Zero Sum had die cast old cars for years until a girlfriend, almost wife, said I like the cars more than the woman, and then I gave them away. Bet you wish you still had those cards, right? See, that's the thing. It's like, why? Why don't you have your one shelf where you can just put your stuff and it's fine? Why don't we need to get rid of your things that you enjoy? You know? Uh Toy classic cars, I meant. Yeah, that's cool. Sandy wishes her mom hadn't given away so many of her old toys and stuff from when she was a kid. A lot of that stuff is vintage now. Very true. Tammy turned her puzzle board into a protest sign. Yvonne says we have a puzzle closet, so hard to give away, but some to senior centers, a library. Yeah, you can get, a lot of it. And once you've done it, do you really want to go back? Probably not. Mother's a hard time letting it all go. Ain't that the truth? Julia looked at me and she was getting rid of something that I was nostalgic over, and she said, "Mom, I'm not a hoarder like you." What? Whatever. CBD says, remember when we pass, think about what the family has to deal with pertaining to all our stuff. That is so true. Yeah, we have a couple bags of stuff from her room. It's set to be gone. I saved my son's Power Rangers Transformer from the early 2000s, and I just gave it to him last month since he finally has space for it at his place. Yeah. Chaplain Fred says, look at the American version of Macross called Robotech. I will look into it. Very nice. Ren says, I believe each adult should at least get one toy at Christmas and Hanukkah time. I like the way you think. Very nice. You're collecting poultry? Chicken? You're collecting chicken? That could be a lot of chicken, my friend, unless poultry is the name of some type of toy. I don't know. Yeah. All right, we'll move forward, but I love that conversation on toys. I didn't expect it, and I thought that was great. All right, let me get rid of this comment. Thank you, Mama. Okay, next story is about the lotto of the day. And thanks to Calvin Wong, who saw the story at the same time I did, and we both put it in the show together. This is a lotto win based on advice from a friend. This Maryland woman took her friend's advice and bought a scratch-off lottery ticket, and she won $50,000. She said she mostly plays daily pick games, but sometimes she'll buy a scratch-off ticket. And a friend said, you should really buy one of these newer scratch-off tickets. And so she went to the Simran Mart in Baltimore, and she selected 4 $5 cash blast tickets. She says the friend watches the prizes remaining and knows all the top prizes are still available. And she said, I'm so glad I listened to him. The player said she couldn't sleep after discovering one of her tickets was a $50,000 winner. She said, my stomach was in knots. I feel so overjoyed and overwhelmed. She sent the good news to her friend, shared that, and sent a screenshot so he could see that his advice had paid off. I said, how many zeros do you see after the comma? And he went with her to claim her prize. He said, I always tell her to try to get the new ones. You'll have a better chance at finding the big jackpots. The question remains, how much of the jackpot, how much of the 50 grand did she share with her friend to thank him for that advice? Because I think that's more than just taking someone out to lunch, Come on now. All right. I'm remiss in not getting to it. It is time for Hide in Your Cave Monday. And sometimes you just need to take a little break in the cave and really get away from it all. And we're about that. For a little while, we're able to hide in our caves, and it's a great excuse for us to check out some of the most beautiful caves in the world. And this time we are going to Belize. Check out this cave in Belize, one of many amazing caves. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? All right, time for Hiding Your Cave Monday. And these are some of the most incredible caves in Belize. And the first one, look at that. So cool. The first cave on the list is number 1 in the cave list. Acton Tunichil Muknal is what it's called. It is deep in the Belizean rainforest. It is a short drive from the town of San Ignacio, and then it's a 45-minute hike through the beautiful Tapir Mountain Nature Reserve, and then you find it, the ATM Cave. There's no money in there. Acton Tunichil Muknal is what it stands for, ATM. You can take a short swim into the cave. You can see that it's waterlogged, and then a guided hike through the passage to one of the most impressive Belizean Maya sites, where there's evidence of ceramics and stoneware and skeletons. The next one is called Caves Branch, number 2 on the list. And there they are at the mouth of the cave, going in on inner tubes, which looks kind of fun. It's flowing west of the Saiban River. The Caves Branch River carves into limestone walls deposited by ancient reefs and forms a massive cave system. The river dips in and out of the caves, and that allows you to float on river tubes through the filtered light of the jungle foliage at Nohoch Cheen Caves Branch. So, as you enjoy tubing, you'll also see fertility gods, 1,000-year-old pottery shards, and embedded human footprints along the way. How fun does that look? Going in and out of caves on a tube. That's awesome. Number 3 on the list is called the Barton Creek Cave. And here it is. And it looks like kind of a tight entryway there. But this cave is hidden in the small Mennonite community of Barton Creek. It's along the Chickybill Road in the Cayo district. There are cool, dark caverns. The cave was used by the ancient Maya for rituals like human sacrifices, bloodletting, and fertility rites too. And again, it's called the Barton Creek Cave in Belize. Here's another one, this one with a much wider opening. It's called the Rio Frio. Look at those people headed in that way. The Rio Frio Cave is in the Mountain Pine Ridge Forest Reserve. It's got an impressive 65-foot arch at its opening, about a half mile in length, this cave. A great choice, they say, for the first-time caver. From the cave's opening, you've got a striking view of the entire cave and the stream that runs through it as well. You can see the stream there right at the entrance. But there it is. Yeah, that's a huge opening to that cave. Very impressive. All right, the next one on the list is the Chechemha Cave. You can see the pottery in this one. Look at that. Chechemha, the name of this cave. It is located 16 miles again from the town of San Ignacio, and the experience here is said to be extraordinary. The cave entrance is decorated with Maya motifs. It's guarded by people to prevent the looting of hundreds of fully intact ancient Maya pots that are still sitting inside of this cave. There's a 45-minute uphill hike through farmland and beautiful forest, and then guests are escorted into the cave by an experienced guide. Make sure none of this gets damaged in here. And again, they keep it under guard. I can imagine. Look how special that is. Can you imagine how old that is? It's almost like you can visualize the people that made that pottery or used that pottery in there, because their things are still left behind. Fascinating. Next one is St. Herman's Cave. This one has stairs. Look at that. You see the stairs down in there? That's kind of interesting. St. Herman's Cave, they say, is one of the most accessible caves in the country of Belize. It lies among dense tropical forest on the Hummingbird Highway. I want to go there. 12 miles southeast of the capital city of Belmopan. As part of the St. Herman's Blue Hole National Park, established in 1986, this cave holds important cultural and archaeological significance as evidenced by its use in the Maya during the Classic period. So there's some interesting things down there as well. And again, that is called St. Herman's Cave. The next one, so pretty. This is the Crystal Cave, also called the Mountain Cow Cave. I mean, come on. I'm going to zoom in on those formations there. That's incredible. That's so beautiful. This cave is also within the Blue Hole National Park. It's called the Crystal Cave. We know there are many crystal caves around the world, right? Because of our cave expeditions on Mondays. But it's for more established cavers who are looking for a little more adventure. In this tour, you take a 1.5 to 2 hour guided hike in rugged terrain to the mouth of this cave, and then you've got to rappel down into it, and you're greeted by these huge caverns adorned with crystalline formations. Not us, we just get to go here virtually. We like that better. The next one is called the Hokeb Ha Cave, also called the Blue Creek Cave. It looks like it might be a little harder to find this one. Look at that. Look at the wildlife over there hanging out. That's such a pretty scene. Wow. So, the Blue Creek Cave is on a shady hillside near the village of Blue Creek. Archaeologists say there have been discoveries in this cave of several ceramic and ceremonial altars. They think the Maya used this cave in the late Classic period. Again, it's called Hokeb Ha, or also Blue Creek Cave. The next one is Cave World Adventures. And this one looks a little bit more commercial, you could say. It's a really cool cave too, though. Look at that. So different than the other ones. This is a 300-acre property in San Jose, Socots. It features more than 30 different tours and adventures, including numerous caves with pottery, 3 lakes, Mayan shamanic experiences, events, a medicinal trail, bird watching, and much more. The most popular of these caves is called Aktun Chapat, but there's a lot to see here in all the different caves under Cave World Adventures. The next one is called the Tiger Cave, and I have to say it looks like it's a long way down for this one. It looks like you might have to rappel. Down in there you go. Also called the San Miguel Cave because of its distance from the village of San Miguel in the Toledo district of Belize. The nature hike to this cave is an opportunity to learn about the diversity of the Toledo rainforest firsthand and Maya farming practices as well. It looks like a really pretty cave. Look at the sunlight streaming through. And we get a bonus cave from Belize Adventure Caves, and it's called the Great Blue Hole. All right, make your jokes. Here you go. The Great Blue Hole. This one, of course, underwater. The Great Blue Hole is a world-famous underwater sinkhole right off the coast of Belize. It's a bucket list dive for divers around the world. They say it's a unique, breathtaking cave diving experience that can only be done in Belize. No, thank you. No, not going into the hole underwater. Not going to happen, but we like the picture. That's great. We'll take it. So some beautiful caves to see in Belize, and that is Hide in Your Cave Monday. And thank you for sharing it with me. Those are some cool caves, especially that one that still has the pottery, the Maya pottery sitting there that's under guard. God, I love that. That's so fun. Mhm. Blue hole. Tee, I knew it. I knew it was coming. A blue hole better than a brown hole. You guys don't disappoint me ever. Funny. Yeah, so those caves were really special. Yeah, I liked them too. Thanks, Yvonne. Really nice. Zero sum, the blue hole, a democracy protection zone. We need to develop our own blue hole. Okay. Should I do one more story? Why not? How about this one? Hmm. What do you think? Um, dogs or army coyote robots? I'm going for army coyote robots. Look at that. The army has kind of come up with this thing. I liken them to new age scarecrows. They're plastic coyotes that are attached to mini four-wheelers, and they're apparently more effective at getting rid of wildlife, making, running it off, than even the Boston Dynamics dog Spot. Well, of course, they look a little bit more realistic, right? They say sometimes the high-tech solutions aren't the best way to solve a problem. The US Army is exploring new methods to deter birds and other problematic wildlife from their air bases. And so, for a time, they considered using the Boston Dynamics dog like a spot robot to scare off animals. But then they said that wasn't working well enough. It didn't happen fast enough. The creatures didn't run away immediately. So they found this other solution, which is more affordable and effective. They got 3 life-size plastic coyote decoys mounted on the top of toy-sized autonomous vehicles. They call them cyborg watchdogs, coyote rovers. They made their debut at they're set to make their debut at naval air bases coming up, the Coyote Rovers. And the Army engineer and research development folks say it all comes down to scare tactics. This is what they're going to do. The small birds at these air bases can cause big problems. 4 Air Force servicemen were killed after a flock of Canadian geese flew through a helicopter's windshield. So they want to keep the birds away. They don't want anything bad to happen to the folks serving in the Air Force or to the birds either. So how to do that? Scare them away. There have been research wildlife biologists working for the last 5 years on this Coyote River Rover project. Some of the air bases had used real dogs to ward off the wildlife, but they say that can be really unpredictable. So the early tests using the Spot robot, the more Boston Dynamics looking one without fur that looks like an actual robot, they said that failed because that robot couldn't charge the wildlife at fast enough speeds. And the animals wouldn't even move after they were bumped into by that thing. It had such a slow approach that it did more of just pushing the animals out of the way once it finally got close enough instead of scaring them off. But this Coyote Rover, while it's much lower tech, is much more effective as well. The rover can reach speeds of up to 20 miles an hour. And with that coyote-looking thing on it, is apparently realistic enough to spook nearby animals. One of these units costs between $2,500 and $3,000. But compare that to the Spot Boston Dynamics robot, which is $74,500. I'll take the $3,000 Coyote, please. So they've successfully demonstrated that this works at several air stations, and they're looking to still improve it by adding machine learning capabilities that could allow these Coyote rovers to autonomously navigate to and from charging stations as well. So there really wouldn't have to be much that people would do. the coyote rovers would go out, scare away the animals, go back, dock, charge up, and go do it again. So, the new scarecrow, there it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I saw this contribution pop in from Maud for 25, who says, "We adore you, Kim." No, Maud. No, no, my friend. I adore you. Thank you so much for the contribution to this show. You are awesome, and I so appreciate it. You help keep this show going. So from Maud's 25 to Chaplain Fred's 2 to Cindy's 10 and Nullifidian's 10, and everyone who has thrown in via PayPal, whether it's a one-time or a monthly contribution, thank you. Much appreciated. Tomorrow, the Mark Thompson Show is going to be great. We've got an emergency medical doctor coming on to the show. We've got David K. Johnston coming on to the show, which is always amazing. And we have Jefferson Graham coming on to the show as well. So it's going to be a really good Tuesday show. That starts tomorrow at 11 a.m., the Mark Thompson Show here on YouTube. And then tomorrow is Travel Tuesday. If you have any suggestions of where we should go, please let me know. It is kim@theafterparty.live. And last week we went to Menorca. I got a great message. I forget who sent me this message about mayonnaise. They were watching a CBS morning show, and they were talking about the history of mayonnaise. I have it? Mayonnaise. See if I can say who. Here it is. Yvonne. Thank you, Yvonne. Yvonne sent me this message. She said, one of my favorite TV shows, CBS News Sunday Morning, had a segment about mayonnaise originating on Menorca. And she said, it's funny timing because we just went to Menorca on Travel Tuesday. Yeah, I went from like having never heard of Menorca to having then heard of it multiple times. So interesting. And apparently the home of mayonnaise. Who knew? There's still some discrepancy on that. But you can check in and go see it. It's on YouTube. It's CBS News Sunday Morning with this Menorca segment that is interesting if you care about the history of food. And thank you again for the comment and the email, Yvonne. Again, kim@theafterparty.live if you would like to email me, if you would like to go somewhere special. Maybe you have a place that has incredible pictures, or maybe there's somewhere you went that you want to share with me and you want to come on the show and share that. Or maybe there's somewhere you've always wanted to go and never have had the chance, and we can explore that together. Send me a message, kim@theafterparty.live. I also have a correction to make, kind of more of an explanation, and it has to do with Trivia Thursday. And when the Berlin Wall fell, I got a bunch of messages of people saying, wait a minute, you're wrong. The Berlin Wall fell in 1989. And it's true that most of the answers said 1989. And I thought it was in the late 80s as well. The trivia page that I was looking at, the answer that they gave was 1991. So I did some research. And while many websites say the wall fell in 1989, because that's when you see the video of people trying to pull down the wall and partying on the wall, there was a construction company that was hired to come in and tear portions of the wall down. And that happened in 1990. So I'm thinking that the trivia answer was based on when the construction company was done. But I'll tell you, my daughter was just in Germany, and there are big chunks of the wall that are still standing, and they've painted murals on them. Beautiful murals. So anyway, that's what we have. My apologies for anyone that felt that the wrong answer was given. I think that's why they said 1991. But for anyone who said 1989, 1990, or 1991, credit goes to everyone. All right. Tomorrow I will see you back on YouTube. But until we meet again, I hope you make it the very best rest of your day. For now, bye everybody.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
Thank you for whatever comes in. Don't do anything you can't afford ever. I don't know. This is a new Dr. Deidre. I'm not sure if it's Dr. Hunky or not. We'll check him out and then we'll reconvene here on the after party and discuss. And the segment says the French take credit for it, but maybe it wasn't theirs originally. Woo! Good luck, Heather. Good luck. Although you don't need it. You're going to kill it. Okay, Rich, I'm not adding you back in. I just saw you did the all caps again to me on this show. Nope. I've asked. This is crazy, you guys. Okay, I'm moving past it.